For the honorable members, let me repeat for the upteenth time. When the chair indulges you to take a seat, please take the nearest available free seat so that we don't unduly interrupt business. Honorable members, I've got communication to make. As you are aware, pursuant to Rule 15.1 of the East African Legislative Assembly elections, election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017, the clerks of the Houses of Parliament, who pursuant to Rule 2 of the said rules are the presiding officers, appointed today, Thursday, 17th November 2022, as the day for the election of members of the East African Legislative Assembly. The appointment was made via Gazette Notice number 14039 of 16th November 2022 and via the advertisement in the dailies on 16th November 2022. Allow me, therefore, honorable members, to provide guidance to the House on the procedure that we shall follow in conducting the election of members of the East African Legislative Assembly, EALA. The election exercise will be undertaken pursuant to the East African Legislative Assembly elections, election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017. Honorable members, the election shall be conducted here in the National Assembly Chamber and in the Senate Chamber, being the venues appointed for this purpose by the presiding officers. In accordance with Rule 2 of the said rules, the Clerk of the National Assembly and the Clerk of the Senate are the presiding officers, while the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate are the returning officers in the respective houses. For purposes of the election, a voter is defined in Rule 2 as a member of the National Assembly or a member of the Senate. Honorable members, take the nearest available seats. The nearest available seats. Honorable members, with respect to the conduct of the election in the National Assembly, the Rule 16.1 requires the presiding officer to prepare and at the time appointed for the election to issue to each member one ballot paper on which shall be written in alphabetical order the names of all duly nominated candidates, their gender, age, and county. I confirm that the ballot papers have been prepared in the manner required. I notice that candidates have also been clustered under the headings of the names of the respective categories of nomination in accordance with Rules 5 and 9. Honorable members, voting will be done through roll call, where the clerk will call out the names of members in the order in which they appear in the division list. Members who are present on signing a ballot issuance register which is available with the presiding officer will be issued with one ballot paper. Each member, on receiving a ballot paper which has been duly stamped, shall proceed to one of the ballot booths which are located on either side of the chair and secretly record his or her votes by putting a mark in the space provided on the ballot paper for recording of a vote against the names of their preferred candidates as clustered. Honorable members, Rule 6.1 provides for the allocation ratio for each party, which shall be 3 times the figure arrived at by multiplying the number of elected members of that party by such number as the Joint Select Committee shall determine, and dividing the result by the total number of elected members of Parliament. As such, kindly note that the ballot paper is divided into 2 clusters, that is the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. The Kenya Kwanza Alliance cluster has 15 candidates, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party cluster has 12 candidates. In respect of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition Cluster, which consists of 15 candidates, a member will be entitled to vote for not more than 5 candidates. And I repeat, honorable members, honorable body, if you can reduce the conversation. In respect of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition Cluster, which consists of 15 candidates, a member will be entitled to vote for not more than 5 candidates. If you vote for more than 5, it will be a spoiled ballot. The persons to be declared elected in respect of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance cluster shall be the 5 candidates with the highest number of votes, who must include at least 2 candidates of either gender. In respect of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party cluster, which consists of 12 candidates, a member will be entitled to vote for not more than 4 candidates. I repeat, on the Azimio cluster, you vote for 4 candidates. The persons to be declared elected in respect of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Coalition Party cluster shall be the 4 candidates with the highest number of votes, who must include at least 1 candidate of either gender. Honorable members, take the nearest available seats. The nearest available seats. Honorable members, please bear in mind that in accordance with Rule 17.3, a voter can only cast as many votes as the number of the total candidates to be elected, in this case, 9 candidates. It is also important to note that in reckoning with the candidates to be declared elected, Section 4.4 of the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act 2011 requires that at least 1/3 of the elected members shall reflect either gender. Honorable members, let me also clarify that under Rule 17.4, where a voter casts more votes than the number of candidates required to be elected, the ballot paper of that voter shall be regarded as spoiled. Rule 17.5 provides that a ballot paper shall not be regarded as spoiled where the voter casts a number of votes that falls below the number of candidates to be elected. Meaning you can elect to vote for 4 instead of 5 or 3 instead of 4, that will be a valid ballot. If you exceed the number, it will be a spoiled ballot. In accordance with Rule 17.6, a member who accidentally spoils a ballot paper while voting in progress is entitled, on surrendering the spoiled ballot paper to the presiding officer, to be issued with another ballot paper in place for the spoiled one. Honorable members, after marking the ballot paper and while still in the booth, you are required to fold your ballot paper and proceed to deposit it in the ballot box placed on the table of the House and resume your seat. Honorable members, as required by Rule 18.1, once all members have cast their votes, I will appoint 2 members, 1 from either side of the coalitions, to be the counting agents for the candidates. In accordance with Rule 18.2, the presiding officer shall, in the presence of the counting agents, count and tally the votes cast. Honorable members, pursuant to the provisions of Rule 19, when the votes have been counted and the results of the election ascertained, the presiding officer shall record the results of the tally and report to the House the results of the election together with the number of votes recorded for each candidate under the respective clusters. The returning officer of this House shall thereafter send a message to the Senate communicating the results of the National Assembly, which the Speaker of the Senate as the returning officer will announce to the Senate. The presiding officer of the Senate will likewise record, tally the results, and report the results of the Senate elections to the Senate, and the returning officer of the Senate will send a message to the National Assembly communicating the Senate election results. Honorable members, upon receipt of the message from the Senate on the results of the elections in the Senate and the consolidated results from both houses of Parliament, I will announce the results to the House. Honorable members, let me also point out that in the event of a tie between two or more candidates amongst those with the highest votes in any of the clusters, the process will be repeated in both houses between the respective candidates. As I conclude, I would like to remind the House that during the entire election exercise, the East African Legislative Assembly election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017 and the National Assembly standing orders are applicable and will be enforced by the Speaker as necessary. Finally, honorable members, I wish to draw your attention to the standing order number 91 on decorum during division, which require, among others, that honorable members shall maintain order in the House. The said honorable members, we shall forthwith commence the elections as I now direct the presiding officer to proceed. But before we do that, there's one more communication. Honorable members, having explained the process and before the presiding officer commences the voting, I wish to report to the House that on 16th November 2022, the offices of the returning officers, that is the two clerks, received a letter from one Salim Mohamed Busaidi, a candidate under the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition cluster, indicating his withdrawal from the election process. In accordance with Rule 11.1.2 of the rules, the deadline for withdrawal of candidacy was on Thursday, 10th November 2022, being a day after the nomination day. This may be reminiscent of recent events. In this regard, honorable members, the presiding officers did not accept his withdrawal. Consequently, his name will continue to appear on the ballot paper, notwithstanding his intended withdrawal. Therefore, in order for the presiding officer to ring the bell for 10 minutes and prepare the chamber for the voting, but before he does that, members come in and take your seats, the nearest available seats. Honorable Kainan, where is the nearest available seat? Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, allow me to make a short communication in recognition of Mrs. Lucy Wanjohi, one of our clerks. Honorable members, I wish to recognize one of our members of staff, Mrs. Lucy Wanjohi, the head of the Interhouses and Overseas Department in the Directorate of Legislative and Procedural Services, who is retiring from the parliamentary service. Mrs. Wanjohi joined Parliament in 2003 as a clerk assistant 3 and has risen through the ranks to head of department. She's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and prior to joining Parliament, she served as the Cabinet Secretary for the Kenya National Trading Corporation between 1989 and 2001. Today is an important day for her, as this will be the last day of her service to the House as a procedural officer in the National Assembly. Indeed, her presence today in the Speaker's procession was of great importance, and we thank her for her diligence. On behalf of the National Assembly, Lucy, you may stand up to be recognized by members. On behalf of the National Assembly, the Parliamentary Service Commission, and indeed on my own behalf, I wish to thank Mrs. Wanjohi for her 2 decades of service to the Parliament of Kenya, in addition to the decade of public service at the Kenya National Trading Corporation. We wish her well in her future endeavors. And I want to add that yours truly here has personally worked with Lucy Wanjohi when we were drafting the 2010 Constitution. And she was extremely hardworking, diligent, honest, and always on time to do her work. We wish Lucy well. There is a difference between looking young and being young. Members, I'll allow 4 members to say something about Lucy before we go to voting. I'll start with the Honorable Pukose, who was the first to request, then Kainan.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, being one of the members who has worked with Lucy, I want to really appreciate her role, especially when we go to the table office, and I've also worked with her in the House and Procedure Rules. She's a great clerk, and she's really helped us a lot in many of the either questions, petitions, or even legal. So I want to really, on my own behalf and the people of Endebess, want to wish her all the best and wish her better life outside there. May God bless you. Thank you so much.
Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
All the honorable members, Honorable Kainan.
Mr. Speaker, I have known Lucy since her days as a young company secretary at Kenya National Trading Corporation. Mr. Speaker, and I remember her in a very unique way. One time in 1991, as a university student, I walked into her office as a company secretary. And then, Mr. Speaker, under the Kanu regime, sugar licensing used to be a very important commodity. I explained what I wanted. Without asking for much details, Lucy gave me a certificate to trade in sugar, and that certificate earned me the first 1 million shillings, Mr. Speaker, in 1991. And Mr. Speaker, when again I found her in Parliament here, the same Lucy continued, and I know wherever she has been, she has left an impact. We appreciate you. It's not the end of the world. I am sure the next few years you will be very useful in other quarters, so we wish you well. For me, if it was my choice, the law permitting, I would have asked you to stay, but because you must create space for other people, we thank you and we wish you very well, Lucy. Thank you, and I appreciate you.
Honorable Wandai.
Let me also join my colleagues in wishing Madam Lucy well in her well-deserved retirement. I must also attest to the fact that Lucy has been one of those impeccable officers, one of those most hardworking and diligent officers that we've ever come across in Parliament. In fact, many a time when you come across her, you see an officer who is self-effacing, who does not really carry airs, as they say. Yeah, she's an officer who we shall miss most profoundly. And we wish her all the best, and also encourage those officers whom she's left behind to emulate her, so that we can carry forward the image and dignity of Parliament. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Madam Lucy for the 2 terms that I served as the Chair for Health and also the Chair for the Departmental Committee on Lands. She was extremely useful. Honorable Speaker, for the few days that we have been privileged to sit in your panel, Madam Lucy has been very useful. The Honorable Mutuse can bear me witness that a few weeks ago, she had to make sure that the procedure had to be followed. So, Madam Speaker, I congratulate her, and as she goes to do future activities, I would like to encourage her not to be inactive, continue being active. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to request you, let her be given work to do consultancies, because she can be extremely useful to this parliament, even as she goes to her retirement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honourable Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the Nyanza Western Caucus of Internally Displaced Persons, draw the attention of the House to the following. That in the aftermath of the contested 2007 general elections, the country witnessed unprecedented post-election violence, which other effects caused massive displacement of persons from their settlements. That prior to setting up IDP camps by the government, a number of internally displaced persons who survived the post-election violence atrocities, particularly in the hotspots like Naivasha, Eldoret, Kericho, Bahati, Nakuru, and Nairobi, fled to their home regions, got hosted by their relatives without compensation, and have therefore been living under undignified conditions. That in order to ensure that IDPs revert to normal lives as soon as practicable, the government rolled out a resettlement program, including Operation Rudi Nyumbani program, which was intended to facilitate IDPs to go back to their original homes under state protections. That it is in public knowledge that IDPs, particularly those who were in designated IDP camps, were compensated monetarily with amounts ranging from Kenya shillings 400,000 and above, in addition to allocation of land for settlement. That the Nyanza Western Caucus IDPs comprises of legitimate IDPs who are registered by various humanitarian organizations, including the Kenya Red Cross and the IDP network. That like other IDPs, the Nyanza Western Caucus of IDPs had legitimate hope that they would also benefit by either being resettled or compensated in order to start their lives all over again. That to their astonishment, the Nyanza Western Caucus of IDPs were neither resettled nor compensated like other counterparts who were in IDP camps in other parts of the country, and have inevitably been unable to recover from the psychosocial and economic damages suffered during and after the post-election violence. That the government's failure to compensate the Nyanza Western Caucus of IDPs has subjected them to untold pain, suffering, disillusionment that has made them to feel forgotten, discriminated against, contrary to Article 27 of the Constitution. That since 2008, representatives of the Nyanza Western Caucus of IDPs have on several occasions forwarded the petitioner's concerns to the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government on various dates, the most recent attempts being on 16th September 2019 and 30th March 2021, but the government has not taken any tangible steps to address their plight. That any further neglect of the petitioner's plight amounts to serious violation and derogation of their inalienable rights to fair administrative action, particularly with respect to expeditious administrative process. That the issues in respect of which the petition is raised are not pending before any court of law, constitutional or any legal body. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through public petitions, a committee will expeditiously interrogate the issues raised in this petition with a view to determining the circumstances under which for close to 15 years since the occurrence of post-election violence, the petitioners are yet to be settled or compensated. 2, cause the relevant government agencies to ensure that the deserving IDPs under Nyanza Western Caucus of IDPs are verified and urgently compensated in order to enable them to revert to a dignified life like other counterparts who benefited from government resettlement or compensation programs. And 3, make any recommendations deemed fit in addressing the plight of the petitioners, and your petitioner will ever pray. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Nyikal. The petition is committed to the Public Petitions Committee. Next order.
Order number 5.
Oh, order. Ordinarily, we do have 30 minutes to comment. Maybe I should allow that, but we are limited with time because of voting. Can we proceed to the next order? I know it's a very important petition. Pardon? Okay, I'll give a few minutes comments. I'll start with John Buddy. Yes. Each member 2 minutes. Give the Honorable John Buddy the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker.
Those who want to comment on this go to intervention because the screen, as usual, is full. Go ahead, John Buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to comment on the petition that has been brought to this House through the Member of Parliament for Semi Honorable Nyikal. Mr. Speaker, we all remember the unfortunate events of December 2007 to early 2008. And I think it is something that we need to close as a chapter in the history of this country. But it is not right to do so, Mr. Speaker, when there are Kenyans out there who have been discriminated against and have not gotten compensation like some other people. We are not saying that people who got affected in other areas have got enough compensation. Because, Mr. Speaker, we must agree that loss of life can never be compensated. We must also agree that even loss of property cannot adequately or sufficiently be compensated. But there is need for gesture. It has been done elsewhere. Those who are affected in some parts of Rift Valley have been compensated previously, but those who suffered, those who are coming from Nyanza and Western, those who are working in Naivasha farms, those who are working in other areas of Rift Valley and Central, who are coming from the Western region, who are affected by post-election violence, up to today, Mr. Speaker, have been forgotten, and they have cried for far too long. And therefore, I hope and wish that the committee that is going to deal with this matter, that is the Public Petitions Committee, that this time we find a closure to this dark chapter in our history as a country so that we can move on. And I am sure that Kenya is not prepared to repeat this again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for...
The Honorable Justice Kemei. The Honorable Justice Kemei.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to comment on the petition from Honorable Nyikal. As a good neighbor of the people of Nyanza, Mr. Speaker, I witnessed the exodus of the people of Nyanza.
Order, honorable members, the conversations are too loud.
From other parts of the country back to their home. Mr. Speaker, it's a very sad chapter in our country, and we'll always pray that elections are fair in our country and that we pursue peace in the event that we're not satisfied with the elections. Mr. Speaker, the people of Nyanza do deserve to be compensated. While those have been compensated in other parts of the country, I recognize, Mr. Speaker, that the people from Nyanza indeed have not been compensated. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish to support and call upon the Petitions Committee to judicially deal with this issue so that the people of Nyanza do get their rights as the people of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shakil Shabir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, in 2007, I picked up, and we picked up 87 bodies in the post-election violence. We also had a list of all those people who suffered not only loss by death, but lots of business. The compensation requests have been put through, and we are just waiting and waiting. It appears that Nyanza and the Kisumu area have a different criteria when the government looks for compensation. So I urge and I support the petition that the Kisumu victims of post-election violence of both 2007 and later be compensated, and those who lost their lives, their families also be compensated. This has gone long enough, and I think it's one of those tragedies like the Wagala massacre and others. We had a massacre in Kisumu. 87 people were killed that we know of, and we must have peace. And I know money cannot buy peace, but money can help the families who are suffering in dire poverty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Fabian Muli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, like all human beings, internally displaced people, they enjoy human rights like other people, as articulated in International Human Being Convention. And it is this country now, we are supposed to have a progressive agenda of solving these issues. They keep on going and happening back. Like recently, we are having urban displaced people, like what happened in Kariobangi. These people, when they are displaced, they end up going to take our lands, like what happened in KBC. They become squatters, and they become again land grabbers in our lands. So it is now the government, we need to take fast and make a progressive agenda on how to solve the issue of IDP. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Masara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the petition. Mr. Speaker, my constituency, Suna West constituency, was really affected during post-election violence of 2017, 2007, 2008. Many people were evicted from Kericho, Naivasha, Bomet, and Nakuru, and they came back to my constituency, Suna West. Mr. Speaker, many lost their loved ones, their properties and businesses, and some were psychologically affected. Mr. Speaker, the petition will cure so many things because we have so many orphans who lost their parents. We have so many widows who lost their husbands and their businesses and properties. Therefore, we urge the government that these people are also Kenyans and they deserve to be treated like any other Kenyans who benefited from the compensation. Mr. Speaker, if this petition can sail through, it will help those who were affected to at least feel part of this society. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Pukose Robert.
Nashukuru Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii ili niweze kuongea jambo la IDPs ambalo sehemu zetu kama Endebess, Trans Nzoia kwa ujumla na sehemu ya Western silihusika sana kwa mambo ya watu kuhamishwa kutoka makwao na wakawa wakimbizi wa kindani. Na hadi sasa, Bwana Spika, hiyo watu hawajawahi kufidiwa na serikali. Serikali ilipotenga pesa ya kufidia, ilifidia sehemu zingine, watu kutoka sehemu zingine. Lakini wale kutoka sehemu za Western na Trans Nzoia mpaka wa leo wanaendelea kuumia, na naomba kwamba Bwana Spika, wakati kamati ya petitions itakapoketi iweze kuita wale wajumbe kutoka sehemu hizo ambazo waathiriwa wanatoka, ili pia waweze kuhusishwa na waweze kusaidiwa na serikali ili waweze kupata makao na pia jinsi ya kujisaidia. Nashukuru Bwana Spika.
Honorable members, because of the heavy agenda ahead of us, we'll end up there on this petition. The petition is committed to the Public Petitions Committee. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
The Chair, NCDF Committee. Honorable Musa Sirma.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, November 17/2022, report of the Select Committee on National Government Constituency Development Fund on list of nominees to the National Government Constituency Development Fund for 70 constituencies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chair, NCDF.
Yes. Honorable Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that pursuant to provision of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraph 5(2) and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 70 constituencies constituency committee of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, November 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
We'll start with statements. The member for Tiati. The Honorable Kamket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Pursuant to Standing Order number 44(2)C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee, regarding the disbursement of money from the Equalization Fund. Mr. Speaker, sir, Equalization Fund became operational in the financial year 2011-2012, and in 2013, 14 counties identified by the Commission on Revenue Allocation benefited from 11.8 billion from the Equalization Fund. The disbursement was based on the first deprivation policy, which lapsed in the year 2016 and 17. Since the financial year 2016-17, Mr. Speaker, sir, for 3 consecutive financial years, that is 2016-17, 17-18, and 18-19, funds from the Equalization Fund have not been disbursed for implementation of projects as contemplated in Article 204(2) of the Constitution in marginalized areas. It is against this background, Mr. Speaker, that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Number 1, what is the status of disbursement of funds from the Equalization Fund for implementation of projects as contemplated in Article 204?
Order, honorable members. We can't quite hear what is going on. Honorable Sirma and your team, take your seats. Order, honorable members, take your seats.
Where?
Order, honorable members. Can we bring some order to the House, please? Go on, Kamket.
What is the status of disbursement of funds from the Equalization Fund for implementation of projects as contemplated in Article 204(2) of the Constitution in the last financial years? 2, what is the status of implementation of the second policy and criteria for sharing revenue among marginalized areas? And finally, to state when the new regulations approved by this House would be in force. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Kamket, if you are done. Majority Leader. Okay. The Chair, Budget. Ndindi Nyoro, is he in the House? Yes. You have a statement to make?
Mr. Speaker, it's not a statement. The question was directed to my committee.
You're right.
And we'll be giving Mheshimiwa feedback in the next 2 weeks.
Excellent. Next, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. Maybe Honorable Speaker, because I didn't get an opportunity with your indulgence.
Which have come from the Supreme Court, which this House is supposed to implement. But over the years, mistaken.
Order, honorable members, order.
Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable Ruku and your group. Order, honorable members. Order. The Honorable Woman Rep for Narok. You are conducting illegal meetings in the chamber. Honorable members, take your seats. Order, honorable members, take your seats. And I repeat, take your seats. I know you are excited about what you are about to do, to vote, but that is no justification for these loud consultations. Order, honorable members, order. Take your seats and limit your movements. Go on, Honorable Mbadi.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was just concluding that I was very attentive to hear if my motion will be brought for even the notice to be given, Mr. Speaker. And this is a motion that would have helped this House implement some of the recommendations that have come from the Supreme Court regarding the improvement on our electoral process. And it should have been a bipartisan ad hoc committee that had recommended that we form as a House to look at those issues. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned that I have not received any explanation.
You made your point.
Regarding that motion. Thank you, Mr.
Majority
Speaker.
Leader, do you have any response to that?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And it's indeed true, there is nothing in the statement regarding the motion by the Honorable Madi on the proposal to set up a select committee. Honorable Speaker, that matter did come before the House Business Committee this week, and we deliberated on it. A number of members were of the view, since there is now a committee that can ably discharge that mandate in JLAC. And Honorable Speaker, there are also other members who are of a different opinion, and the chair of the House Business Committee did indicate that he will be making a ruling on the issue following deliberations, and that is why it has not been lined up for any deliberation until we get communication from the chair of the House Business Committee. And I'm sure when we sit again on Tuesday, we should be able to expedite that matter.
Order, honorable members. Next, we go to questions. I'm not allowing you. We have 3 questions. Honorable members, I want us to start our EALA voting by 11:15. So the members who have questions, Honorable Yego, I give you the shortest time possible to ask your question. Honorable Yego, you have the
Thank
floor.
you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask question number 16 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstance that led to the retrenchment of over 20,000 tea pluckers in Konoin constituency, multinational tea companies? Could the Cabinet Secretary state measures the ministry is putting in place to mitigate the consequences that arise from the mechanization which has affected the small and medium-sized wages and the overall effect on to the economy? Question number 3, further, what measures is the ministry taking on the mechanized tea handlers who face serious health risks due to excessive continuous exposure to monoxide fumes from the machines they use in plucking and also handling? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The question goes to the relevant committee. Next, member for Baringo Central, Joshua Kandie.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to ask question number 017 of 2022. The question goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain measures that have been put in place to ensure maximum utilization of Eldoret International Airport for both passengers and cargo? 2. Could the ministry consider enhancing the airport's cargo handling capacity? 3. Could the ministry consider expanding the airport's runway to accommodate bigger capacity planes and therefore promote the entry of more cargo? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kandie. Your question is referred to the relevant committee. Next, Peter Masara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order number 42A5, I rise to ask question number 19 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior and National Administration. 1. Considering unknown people raided Maranatha Faith Assembly Church on 3rd November 2022, killing Mr. Cedric Onduto Otieno of ID number 39696191 and Mr. Francis Amboka Owado of ID number 3966-273 and stealing church instrument worth over 1 million Kenya shillings. Number 2, what measures are the ministry putting in place to address the personnel understaffing, inadequate vehicles and equipment for the security agencies in Suna West Sub-County? And then 3, further, could the ministry outline the timeframes required to resolve all pending cases of security in the area Suna West Sub-County? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The question is referred to the relevant committee. Next order.
Order number 8, tree planting along the roadsides. And order number 8, motion, tree planting along the roadsides and road reserves. Question to be put.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable Mukami. Order. Today you have been very mobile in the House. Order, honorable members. We have a question to be put on order number 8, carries motion. Immediately after the question, the clerk will be directed to ring the bell, division bell, for 10 minutes, after which we'll go into division, and the voting will start at approximately 11:15, and you know you cannot interrupt division. I'm advised that out there and come back, but there will be no closure until we finish. Honorable members, I'll now put the question on order number 8, that are aware that Article 42 of the Constitution accords every person the right to a clean and healthy environment, and that Article 69, 1D also mandates the state to encourage public participation in the management, protection, and conservation of the environment. Further aware that the deforestation is one of the main contributions to climate change, noting that Kenya has not been spared by the effects of global warming and climate change as a result of deforestation, among other aspects. Also aware that the road network in the country currently stands at approximately 177,800 kilometers with a development rate of 600 kilometers per annum. Deeply concerned that there has been persistent destruction of trees and vegetation along the road reserves and roadsides during road construction, leading to adverse effects on the ecosystem. Cognizant that studies have shown that the benefits accumulated from roadside tree planting include better soil formation due to shedding of dead leaves, increased water quality, by reducing sediment flow, reduced erosion, road beautification, flood control as the trees slow and absorb water runoff, wind breaking, providing important pollinator habitats, improving people's health, and protecting crops. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the government includes a component of tree planting in all road networks design and also makes it compulsory for road contractors to replace any tree harvested during road construction upon completion of the project. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. We'll now ring the division bell for 10 minutes as the clerk and as the presiding officer prepares the voting booths and members get ready to start your voting. But before that, the Honorable Otienda Amolo had a point of order on this issue. I'll give him a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I listened to your 26 paragraphs of the communication very keenly on the rules of and procedure of voting, and I welcome them. Mr. Speaker, I note, and I rise under Standing Order number 1, that there are no provisions for allowing the candidates any sort of presence. But there are equally no provisions that prevent their presence within the precincts of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I wished to invoke and invite you, using Standing Order number 1, to allow the candidates, perhaps during voting, to access the Speaker's gallery or the members' gallery, as the case may be. I think it's just in order that the people we are voting for can witness the process of voting. That is my point of order and humble request, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable Otienda Amolo, that is a very reasonable request, and I order that the candidates to be voted for, if they are within the precincts of Parliament, be given access to the Speaker's gallery so that they can sit up there and watch and see what is happening in the voting process. Can the division bell now be rung?
I don't know.
Oh, order. There is another point of order from Honorable Shakil and Okello.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Speaker, sir, maybe I did not hear,
Yeah, well done.
but
done.
what
Good.
I didn't see in any of your communication, and I don't know where the ballot allows for the independent candidates. I'm told there are 1 or 2 independent candidates. Can I seek your guidance on that?
Honorable Shakil, order, honorable members. Order. Honorable Shakil is asking a very pertinent question. The report that was tabled by the Honorable Wanjiku Muhia, who was the co-chair of the process, explained clearly that there was one independent candidate who was cleared by the presiding officers, but on scrutiny and on a report from IEBC, it was found that he didn't have the requisite signatures to make him a valid candidate. Honorable Okello.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was just doing some mathematics off my head that if we are full house of 349 members, give and take 2 minutes each to cast their ballots, it will take us 11 hours, just as you predicted earlier, to be in this house voting. So I do not know the preparations we have from the clerk's standpoint, but if we have multiple booths, like say 4, 5, and we have people voting concurrently, then we are going to really save on a lot of time, Honorable Speaker. And we may not have to be done at 6, as you had earlier predicted. We could be done by 2 o'clock, and we can engage in other tangible businesses, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Let's move from the known to the unknown and see how far we go. Remember that our standing orders allows us to vote and continue with business until midnight. So if we don't finish in good time, or if there is a tie between candidates, you will be obliged to repeat, and we have time up to midnight. Clerk, can we have now the division bell?
Onyonka Richard Momoima. Senator. Oruoba Gloria Magoma. Oruoba Gloria Magoma. Osotsi Godfrey Atieno. Recha Julius Mugor. Roba Ali Ibrahim. Seki Lenku Olekanar. Sifuna Edwin Watenya. Siengo Beth Kalunda. Siengo Beth Kalunda. Dhangwa Paul Karungo. Tobiko Peris Pesi. Wakili Hilary Kiprotich Sigei. Wamatinga Wahome. Wamatinga Wahome. Wambua Enoch Kiyo. Asige Crystal Kegehi. Honorable Senators, final call. Asige Crystal Kegehi. Cherarke Samson Kiprotich.
You are right, please.
Chesang Alan Kiprotich. Ekomwa James Lomenen. Korir Joyce Chepkoech. Mbogwa George Mungai. Mundigi Alexander Munyi. Mudhama Agnes Kavindu. Nyamo Karen Njeri. Oginga Oburu. Oruoba Gloria Magoma.
Honorable Senators, kindly take your seats. The voting exercise is now concluded. We have to proceed to counting and tallying. Before we go to the next stage, I'd wish to appoint 2 senators as tallying agents, one from each side, either side of the House. On the side of Azimio, Honorable Senator Siengo. On the side of Kenya Kwanza, the Honorable Senator Tabitha Mutinda. You may proceed.
So, Honorable Senators, we will now, in the presence of the counting agents, unlock the box, empty the contents thereof, and commence the counting. We are ready now. The ballot box will be emptied and the counting will commence in the presence of the gathered Senate.
We want to start. The first one is Charles Frederick. We are starting with the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Iman Falda Deko, Iringo Cyprian Kubai, Kering Zipora Jesang, Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. No, you're okay, you're okay. Odinga Winnie Imgad, Shabal Suleiman Said. The last one. Are we okay? Coalition, you have seen they have marked 3, is okay. Then under Azimio la Umoja, he has marked 3, it is okay. So we start. We start with Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Aden Abdikadir Omar, Charles Frederick Muteti, Sankok David Ole. Azimio la Umoja, One Coalition. I hope you're okay. Ali Fatuma Gedi, Dirie Abdullahi Mohammed, Shabal Suleiman Said. Are you okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we have a maximum of 5. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have a maximum of 4, which is okay. So we proceed. We'll start. Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, David Ole Sankok, Tommy Tom Lillian Chepto. Are we okay? Under Azimio la Umoja, One Coalition, Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Shabal Suleiman Said. Are we okay? So under Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under Azimio, we have 4. So okay, we can proceed. Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Aden Abdikadir Omar, Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Under Azimio la Umoja, Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. Are we okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's below, so it's okay. Under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're okay. We start with Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Aden Abdikadi Omar, Mwangi Godfrey Maina, Sankok David Ole, then Tommy Tom Lillian Chepto. Under Azimio la Umoja One coalition, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madhenge Kanini, Odinga Winnie Imgad, then Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's okay, that's the maximum. Then under Azimio, we have 4. So we start Aden Abdikadi Omar, Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Under Azimio la Umoja One coalition, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madhenge, Odinga Winnie Imgad, Shabal Suleiman Said. We are good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we proceed. The first one, Hassan Omar Hassan. So Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, Kering Zipora Kurgat, Mwangi Godfrey Maina, David Ole Sankok. You okay? Under Azimio la Umoja, Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Odinga Winnie Imgad, Shabal Suleiman Said. Are we okay? Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we proceed. Charles Frederick Muteti, under Kenya Kwanza. Hassan Omar Hassan. Iman Falhada Deko. Kering Zipporah Jesang Krugat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Bosire Timothy Museti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, and lastly, Kega James Madenge Kanini. We are good? Kenya Kwanza is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are okay, we can proceed. Starting with Kenya Kwanza, Aden Abdikadir Omar, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, Mwangi Godfrey Maina, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, we have Bosire Timothy Museti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. You okay? Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 3 votes there. Under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's fine. Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Aden Abdikadir Omar, Charles Frederick Muteti, and Hassan Omar Hassan. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under Azimio la Umoja, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we start. Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, Kering Zipporah Jesang Krugat, lastly David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, Ali Fatuma Gedi, Bosire Timothy Museti, Kega James Madenge Kanini, lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are good. Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then let's start. Aden Abdikadi Omar, Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipporah Jesang Krugat. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Busire Timothy Moseti, then Mugali Justus Kizito, lastly Odinga Winnie Imgad. We are good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, which is okay. Then Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can proceed. The first one is Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Lastly, Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Iringo, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja One Coalition, we start with Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madhenge Kanini, lastly Odinga Winnie Imgad. We okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Azimio la Umoja, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we proceed. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti. The second one, Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, and lastly Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Busire Timothy Moseti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti. Hassan Omar Hassan. Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. Are you okay? Under Kenya Kwanza is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one, Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhad Adeko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Bosire Timothy Mosetti. Then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Mugali Justus Kizito. And lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. We are good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the next one, we don't, yeah, just blank. Yeah, so we are good. So let's start with Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhad Adeko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, there is no marking. Tuko sawa?
That's a spoiled vote. It's only one side which is marked, the other side is not marked.
It's the one for Kisii Senator. Kisii.
Yeah, so
It's the
you
Kisii
can't,
Senator.
you can't
Onyonka.
count that.
Onyonka, yeah, it's the one who missed.
Why did he?
Honorable Senators, that is not a spoiled vote, and it has been counted, and we proceed. Please look at the rules carefully. Please look at the rules carefully. That is not a spoiled vote, so long as you have not voted more than 4 or more than 5 on either side. Proceed.
Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are good. We start with Aden Abdikadir Omar, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhad Adeko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat, then lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja One coalition, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, and lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he has marked. Yeah, so.
That's a spoiled ballot. It is spoiled because it's 5 and 5. It's spoiled. 5 and 5. It is a spoiled ballot.
This is under Kenya Kwanza. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's within. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What is it? The total is 10, it's spoiled.
So you add another plus one at the back.
So you okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So good. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are good. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, and lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Mugali Justus Kizito, and lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. Are you okay? Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're okay. The first one is Aden Abdikadir Omar, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Lowoia Rebecca, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Are we good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under Azimio la Umoja, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's okay. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti. The second one is Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja 1 coalition is Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is within the limits. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, which is okay. We start with Charles Frederick Muteti, then Iringo Cyprian Kubai, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, lastly, Sheikh Yasser Ali. Sheikh Yasser Ali. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kega James Madenge Kanini, Kioni Jeremiah Ngayu, and that's all. Okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. So good. Starting with Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Lastly, Sheikh Yasser Ali. Under Azimio la Umoja, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madhenge Kanini, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's okay. The first one is Aden Abdikadir Omar. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Then Nyambane Joel Okengo. Under Azimio, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Bosire Timothy Moseti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, and lastly, Mugali Justus Kizito. Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is okay. Then under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We are good. The first one is Aden Abdikadir Omar. Then Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madhenge Kanini, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're okay. The first one under Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, lastly Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. Okay. Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're good. And under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're okay. So under Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, Kering Zipporah Jesang Krugat, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's start with Kenya Kwanza. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipporah Jesang Krugat. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Okay? So Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have just, there are 2, which is okay, it's within the limits. Then under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3. So we proceed and do the counting. The first one is Iringo Cyprian Kubai, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, and lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. We are good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, within. Then under Azimio la Umoja, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first one is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Bosire Timothy Museti, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So, good. The first one, under Kenya Kwanza, is Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. We started with Iringo Cyprian Kubai, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, then David Ole Sankok. Azimio la Umoja is Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are good. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one is Hassan Omar Hassan under Kenya Kwanza. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Then Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja coalition, the first one is Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Kega James Madenge Kanini. Then Odinga Winnie Imgad. And lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Sawa. Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then the first one under Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Then lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we start with Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Under Kenya Kwanza, Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Kega James Madenge Kanini. then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay? So Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Under Kenya Kwanza, we start with Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, then David Ole Sankok, and lastly, To Ann Cherono. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Bosire Timothy Moseti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So starting with Kenya Kwanza, we have Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, and lastly Sankok David Ole. Under Azimio la Umoja, we start with Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. Good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Under Kenya Kwanza, we have Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat, then lastly David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio, we have Bosire Timothy Moseti, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly Shabal Suleiman Said. Good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So starting with Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, and lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Starting with Kenya Kwanza, the first one is Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. That is Lowoya Rebecca. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Mugali Justus Kizito. Then Odinga Winnie Imgad. And lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Charles Frederick Muteti, Hassan Omar Hassan, Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, and lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we start with Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Dirie Abdullahi Mohammed, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. We proceed? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is good. The first one, under Kenya Kwanza, is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we start with Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. We proceed. Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Azimio is just blank. So Kenya Kwanza is Aden Abdikadir Omar, then Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iringo Cyprian Kubai, and lastly, Nyambane Joel Okengo. And under Azimio, it's not marked, as you can see. Yeah. This one under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So starting with Kenya Kwanza, the first one is Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. then Iringo Cyprian Kubai, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, and lastly, Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio, the first one is Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Mugali Justus Kizito, and lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's good. Under Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iman Falhada Deko, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, then lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we start with Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Bosire Timothy Moseti, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. We proceed. Under Kenya Kwanza, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are good. The first one, under Kenya Kwanza, is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat, then Mwangi Godfrey Maina, and lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, then Odinga Winnie Imgad, lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Starting with Kenya Kwanza, the first one is Charles Frederick Muteti, then Hassan Omar Hassan, then Iringo Cyprian Kubai, then Lowoya Rebecca, lastly, Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, the first one is Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Bosire Timothy Museti, then Mugali Justus Kizito, and lastly, Nakusa Beatrice Asukul. You okay? Huh? You okay?
Esther.
But we had finished this one, eh? Tumemaliza.
Honorable Senators, one of the counting and tallying agents is tired and needs to be relieved, and that is Honorable Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Do we... Senator Joyce Korir, would you volunteer to be a... Oh, Esther. Thank you. Senator Esther will relieve Senator Tabitha.
Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, which is within the limits. Under Azimio la Umoja, I just marked 2, which is okay. Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we start with Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iringo Cyprian Kubai. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Then under Azimio la Umoja, the first one is Dirie Abdullahi Mohammed. The next one is Kega James Madenge Kanini. There are only 2 marked. You are good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance is for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are good. Okay, we start with Kenya Kwanza. The first one is Aden Abdikadir Omar. The next one is Charles Frederick Muteti. The next is Hassan Omar Hassan. The next one is Iman Falhad Adeko. And the last one is Kering Zipora Yesang Krugat. Under Azimio, we have Bosire Timothy Moseti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, Kega James Madenge Kanini, lastly, Odinga Winnie Imgad. Tuko sawa? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the first one on Kenya Kwanza is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Then David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, the first one is Ali Fatuma Gedi. The next one is Busire Timothy Museti. Then Dirie Abdullahi Mohammed. Lastly, Mugali Justus Kizito. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are good. We're starting with Kenya Kwanza. Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, the first one is Ali Fatuma Gedi. Then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Odinga Winnie Imgad. Lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You are good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are good. The first one is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. Lastly, Mwangi Godfrey Maina. Under Azimio la Umoja, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Bosire Timothy Moseti, then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, and lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. Are you okay? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So under Kenya Kwanza, we start with Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, we start with Ali Fatuma Gedi. Then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Odinga Winnie Imgad. And lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio la Umoja is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, the first one is Bosire Timothy Moseti. Then Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka. Then Odinga Winnie Imgad. Lastly, Shabal Suleiman Said. You're good? Under Kenya Kwanza Alliance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are good. So starting with Kenya Kwanza Alliance, the first one is Charles Frederick Muteti. Then Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Yesang Krugat. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja, Ali Fatuma Gedi, then Kega James Madenge Kanini, then Mugali Justus Kizito, then Shabal Suleiman Said. You okay?
Yeah.
Lastly, under the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Under Azimio, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Starting with Kenya Kwanza, the first one is Hassan Omar Hassan. Then Iman Falhada Deko. Then Kering Zipora Jesang Krugat. Then Mwangi Godfrey Maina. And lastly, David Ole Sankok. Under Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, we have Ali Fatuma Gedi, Bosire Timothy Moseti, Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, and lastly, Kega James Madenge Kanini.
Honorable Senators, the results have been counted and tallied. A total of 58 ballots was cast. Number of spoiled ballots, 2. Number of valid ballots, 56. And the following are the results of the vote cast per candidate. On the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Aden Abdikadir Omar, 13 votes. Busaidi Saleh Muhammad, 0 votes. Charles Frederick Muteti, 39 votes. Hassan Omar, 46 votes. Iman Falhada Deko, 43 votes. Iringo Cyprian Kubai, 12 votes. Kering Zipora Jesang Kurgat, 37 votes. Kuko Jonas Mr. Vincent, 0 votes. Luwoia Rebecca, 3 votes. Mwangi Geoffrey Maina, 29 votes. Nyambane Joel Okengo, 2 votes. Sankok David Ole, 35 votes. Sheikh Yasir Ali, 2 votes. Tomitom Lilian Chepto, 2 votes. To Ann Cherono, 1 vote. For the Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, Ali Fatuma Gedi, 31 votes. Bosire Timothy Moseti, 17 votes. Dirie Abdullah Muhammad, 4 votes. Kalonzo Kennedy Musyoka, 45 votes. Kega James Mathenge Kanini, 29 votes. Kioni Jeremiah Ngayu, 1 vote. Mugali Justus Kizito, 9 votes. Mutua Winfred Sionindi, 0 votes. Nakusa Beatrice Askul, 1 vote. Ndeti Helen Mueni, 0 votes. Odinga Ingad Winnie, 35 votes. Sherbal Sleiman Said, 38 votes. We shall, as a House, I will relay these results to the National Assembly in form of a message, just like we'll await a message from the National Assembly so that we can conclude this exercise upon receipt of the message from the National Assembly. Next order, Clerk. The presiding officer, kindly secure the ballots.
Order number 9, the county government's additional allocations, number 2 bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2022, second reading.
Honorable Senators, after consultation, this order shall be deferred to today in the afternoon, and therefore we shall adjourn at this juncture and handle this matter in the afternoon. The House stands adjourned until 2:30.